So I want to talk about AMD, what they've been doing, their whole GPU launch and everything that's been going on the last few weeks here. Um, I haven't been seeing a lot of people talk about really what's going on. And I'm going to leave all the tech YouTubers' names out of it, but I've seen it from everyone. There's not one of them that's not of the big guys, of Linus, of Jay, of Gamers Nexus, Steve, of Kyle, Bitwit, Paul's Hardware. I've seen it from a lot of people, all the bigger ones, of not talking about the purposely bad stuff Nvidia's been doing. The low production amounts and not being honest with how much they are. Uh, it, I guess this is kind of up in the air of whether or not they purposely held back uh, stock to drive up the price, but the lack of not putting a limit on how many one purchaser can get, the fact that they had that last year with the 2080 Ti, or the last launch with the 2080 Ti, but they didn't have it with this one. When they knew that stock was already going to be lower with this, Jensen and at least one other person, I would say a far bigger group than one person, knew about this. Hands down, there's no way they didn't know about this. So that was shitty and on purpose. And I didn't see a lot of people talk about that specific aspect. But when AMD had their text of the sun will come out tomorrow, everyone freaked out the next day. It's like, oh, it's just a tweet on this? What the fuck, AMD and da 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 da. Let's talk about this. I want to talk about that tweet and exactly what's going on. I don't want to speculate around the tweet of why they might have said the sun will come out tomorrow and it was just going to be a small tweet and yada yada yada, and it could mean this, it could mean that. We are going to talk about why that was the biggest power play they could have done. So I hear from people like Trump. I hear lots of things. Intel's telling me a lot of things about AMD and Nvidia. I've heard that in order to judge the present and the future, you have to look at the past. Everyone who was the big tech tubers who didn't mention any of this stuff too, like I brought up all their names. I haven't seen this as big topic discussions in there. I've seen little pieces. They've been speculating, and there's little things that they can't say because people have been telling them stuff, obviously. But then there's people like Moore's Law, not an Apple fan, Tech Deals. There's people there that have been talking about more realistic what to expect from AMD, RDNA2, and everything. And I've heard this, in order to look at to learn from you have to learn from the past going forward. The same people that have been saying, sell your 2080 Ti's months ago. Sell your 2080 Ti's before they get revealed. Once it gets revealed, you're not be getting 1,200 for it. You'd be lucky to get 1,000. Lucky. And that's as somebody who lives under a rock. So I keep seeing this of like learn from the past. So let's go there. Let's see what the equivalent of RDNA2 launch would be for AMD. When Ryzen Gen 1 came out, it was promising from I was not in the tech scene. I did not have test bench with any of this. I didn't have a computer with it. This is everything that I've just heard from people talking about it. So no, it's not a personal experience of Gen 1 Ryzen. Although I was looking at a Ryzen 1600 AF model that people were recommending even with Ryzen Gen 3 out. So it seems like a lot more of their problems were software based, little buggy things that would just happen on their platform. Between that and the fact that it didn't completely overthrow what Intel had at the time, they didn't overtake them. People didn't take it completely seriously. They said, this is promising, but there's lots of bugs, lots of little kinks to work out. And Gen 2 came. All of a sudden, Intel's really having to sweat. Now you fast forward from when that Gen 2 came, from right before the Gen 2, was skepticism. And after that, literally a year later, once Gen 3 came out, there's nobody that can very easily recommend, Intel, no, like for anything that's not a specific niche. Gaming, Adobe, and Excel are like some of the few things that is like, that's the majority of your workload. Maybe an Intel rig will be better. That's not putting in Intel limiting RAM speeds and saying that it's overclocking. That's not in addition to their lackluster release launch of this last 10th gen stuff. So with all of that, if we're going to look at the process of AMD, what did AMD do? Kind of kept their mouth shut. They constantly put in people's faces, hey, here's our line versus the competition's. Then when that came out, all of a sudden that gap starts getting a little bit smaller. Maybe it starts going the other direction on certain things. All of a sudden, people then became AMD fanboys. Or at least people that would sing their praises for, hey, they're doing the right thing. Now look, a year and a half, almost 2 years later, after Gen 2 Ryzen launch. Intel's off of the desktop scene right now. There's no real way to recommend it. When I go to the computer store, I see Intel CPUs in stock. They don't have a lot of Ryzen ones. So they always have maybe a 3000 series, a variant of the 3600, and some XTs models. I don't really see anything else. So why am I talking about that now? Well, I'm talking about that because that tweet that AMD had, everyone and their mothers lost their fucking minds. That was a power play. So let me explain this to you. AMD and Nvidia have more insider knowledge about each other's companies and what the products they're going to be launching than we do. The stuff that we get, you have to assume the competition also knows. So when it gets leaked, pictures of the 3080 and the 3070 and the 3090 and their new fan layout, you have to know that AMD either found out the same time we found out, because it was a leak to everyone, or they've had this type of leak of, so this is their design. This is what they're going to be going with. So AMD's tweet was the first tweet was the sun will come out tomorrow, and then they released two dates for when they're going to talk about Ryzen 4th Gen and RDNA2. Ryzen 4th Gen was either October 2nd or 3rd, and then RDNA2 was like October 27th. I was like, that's a far off reach. I was like, they're not in a rush for Gen 4, are they? For Ryzen? Why wouldn't they just want to have the launches kind of simultaneous with each other? Go look at when the 3070 is releasing. Mid-October, like 15th, 17th, somewhere around there. A week and a half. There's at least a week and a half between the 3070 launch and RDNA2's official launch release, all of the information from AMD, their conference about it. There's a week and a half there. So when I saw those dates, I guess I saw the thing that nobody else was seeing, because I just saw Big D Plays all across the board from AMD. And if AMD doesn't live up to the hype, if their product is underwhelming, if their product is good, but the same thing as last time, like their drivers just suck, so there's no consistency, then that's just stuff that we're not going to even know until it's out. Same thing of like, you're not going to know how the 3090 is in real test benches against actual games outside of Nvidia's hands. You need to actually get it in reviewers' hands. You need to get it at home to actually see it. So why am I saying this is a big dick play by them? Well, look at it this way. AMD knows that the next gen cards from Nvidia are going to use power, a lot more power. So if you want to upgrade to have that best experience, which a lot of people have, upgrading your power supply is also going to probably come along with that, especially for overclocking. And in order to get closer to what they're actually promising, you need to overclock those fucking cards. Because out of stock, they ain't getting the numbers that they're saying. Or their numbers are, because Jensen's a master manipulator, it's not like they lied about the cards. They just didn't tell you, oh yeah, that 50% increase from the Titan is only in benchmarks. It's only in productivity. It's not in gaming. Oh, it has 20% more shaders. That's not 20%, 20 to 30% more shaders. It's not 20 to 30% more performance. It's closer to 10 because of how the shaders work. So AMD saw that they had lowered their price because they were anticipating RDNA2. So even though they don't concretely know exactly what they're going to be doing in RDNA2, they probably have a better idea than we do. They just don't know about probably drivers, exact specs. They probably just have ballparks. Hey, they have something around the 3070s range, around the 3080. They might have something slightly above the 3080, but it won't truly compete with the 3090 just because of that 24 gigabytes and the 20-30% shaders. So AMD knew this. Then, when they came out in September 7th, they came out with all their stuff. Right then and there, Nvidia put the ball in AMD's court. So they're essentially letting AMD, hey, you want to lower the prices, you want to start fucking around with all that, it's up to you. The key component there that put AMD into this kind of like this spot where they feel safe. What really happens is AMD took everything into account. They went, hey, let's say our graphics cards are better. They come with more VRAM. They have less power consumption. The drivers are all fixed, so they're fine. They're going to be fine. Say the ray tracing is, let's be optimistic and say it's not going to be just better than Turing, but it matches Ampere as far as how good the ray tracing is. And the last asterisk, let's say they have an equivalent or a killer to DLSS. Let's say AMD has all of these things. AMD weighed these. There's no way that Lisa Su wasn't talking with board members and other people about these possibilities. Let's say they had all the perfect trifectum of everything that would have overthrown them. Would they have still halted the release of Ampere? Well, with the fact that Nvidia is still number one for graphics cards and how big they are, with the hype around Ampere because of the anti-hype around Turing, with the fact that the prices went lower, are much cheaper than what Turing was, even though that was because Turing was artificially inflated to give them more money, even though it wasn't a price per performance boost, it was just the price boost. With all of those things, with the fact that they might not have their drivers right. They might not have all of the cards constantly getting beat. They might be getting paired up, even though they're a little bit cheaper. With all of those things, with all of these other things, limited stock, and the fact that this is a different time. There's going to be people buying these for unboxings and reviews, and people who need this because a lot of people still working at home. They're going to need them in their personal rigs now. It's no reason of, hey, I might have the best at work, but now I have to have it at home. With all of these things that that are getting more and more popular throughout the years, they knew AMD that there was going to be no halting that. Besides the fact of miners and scalpers. And if anyone knew the exact numbers of the 3090, how many were actually going to be in stock, it was going to be AMD. It wasn't going to be a YouTuber with a leak. AMD was going to have that number. So with all that in there, why wasn't AMD trying to spearhead, trying to kill Ampere? Because there is no killing Ampere in Q4 of 2020. There's only killing Ampere in Q1 of 2021. So when they're looking at it, they're going, hey, realistically, whether it's PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, even our own RDNA2, or Ampere, Q1 2021 is when there's going to be a lot more stock available than Q4. Q4, they're going to push out everything they have to kind of get people in the door and something, but they also knew, AMD, I'm sure they predicted that they were going to run out without scalpers and miners, that they were going to sell out their cards because of the limited availability of stock and how many people are constantly buying more and more stuff for reviews and work. And just because, hey, shits and giggles, I have it. I'm going to build a gaming computer now. So they knew all this. And they knew that they weren't going to stop those numbers. So then why is the RDNA launch the way that it is? Why is it the date that it is? Because it's a week and a half after the 3070 gets released. Sorry, officially, its launch was launch or release, whatever. It's official when you can pre-order it and start getting it sent to your house. Why is that important? What does AMD want from all this? They want the 3080s, the 3090s, and the 3070s all sold out wherever they're going to be, whether they're in the hands of scalpers and miners, whether they're in the hands of reviewers, hands of actual customers. They want them in their homes. They want people to do real testing on them because they know, as well as anyone else who's been in the industry talking about it, that those are fluff numbers that Nvidia gave us. those are not realistic to what they would be in real world applications. Everyone knew this. Or we could speculate. We could speculate looking at the 20% more shaders that it's not going to be 20% more performance. We can look at that, yeah. 10 gigabytes on the 3080, it's kind of going to be a problem at some point for people that need VRAM. 12 gigabytes would have been a smarter move. So AMD wants these, in their eyes, underperforming cards because of all of Nvidia's hype. I don't want to say lies, but manipulation to kind of get you hyped for the product. They want them in reviewers' hands. They want you to see the benchmarks. They want you to have them in your own rigs. They know that if you have the money to just go ahead and buy a $700 graphics card, it's not going to be a problem to you. If you're really saving to get the best possible graphics card, you're going to be waiting until both companies come up with their stuff anyway. AMD knows that. AMD knows that the people who are really saving and penny pinching, the ones who would really be hurt by a bad launch, they know that these people are already saving their stuff. They know that they're not going to get that. Dumb consumers will always be dumb consumers. That's regardless. Whether or not they're dumb consumers just getting into it, or dumb consumers who have been here forever and keep spouting stupid bullshit. But AMD knows this. So why do they want those graphics cards in there? Because then they want to come out with their products and they want to add on top of the bad blood. Because from Turing and what they did with the 2080 Ti, the lackluster in ray tracing, I mean, DLSS is more exciting than, it's more of an improvement than ray tracing. Ray tracing now is just starting to actually be significant. They want all of that stuff, all of these like things to build up like a pressure cooker. And they want the bad blood between consumers and Nvidia to just explode outside of that. They want their cards and everything to come out, and they want people to go and look and be like, wow, that Ampere launch actually really wasn't worth it. And then people who will be looking to upgrade then go, wow, now I actually have a lot better options. So that's what AMD did. They're doing the big dick plays of going, hey, even if we don't have the 3070 killer and the 3080 killer, and we don't have something to compete with the 3090, if we have ray tracing, something to supplement for DLSS, if it's not an actual program like DLSS, or just a lot better performance in the actual cards. So RDNA2 being essentially 2 times RDNA1, if they keep their promises on like those two things in addition to price per performance, which go look at Ryzen. How did they kill Intel? Did they kill Intel by increasing their products by a certain percentage every time with the actual incremental increases of the performance? No, they basically kept them all in their similar grounds. 3060s, somewhere in the blank 600 series is here. The blank 700 series is here. The blank 800, the blank 900 is all here. They're all in their same little brackets. Now with the new generation, the last generation is even more desirable because it's a little bit cheaper than it was on launch, and there's a little less problems than when they're on launch. And this is all big dick plays by AMD. This was all calculated. This is Lisa Su trying to take over the dedicated GPU market for gamers. And I bet that when AMD has their conference for RDNA2, they're going to mention ray tracing. They're going to be giving some performance for certain games, Fortnite included, and I'll get to that in a second. They're going to have all that stuff, but they are going to actually appeal to productivity. I doubt that their lowest end new card is going to have anything less than 8 gigabytes. I'd be very surprised if whatever they have to going up against the 3070 doesn't have at least 10, possibly 12. There's definitely going to be a 12 gigabyte model that's going to be compete with 3080, but there's no way that they're not going to have some 16 gigabyte model that's going to be the true one to compete with the 3080. And the VRAM will sell the card. So that 10 gigabytes versus 12 gigabytes in the 3080 is going to kill Nvidia in the long run. It's gonna kill that card's momentum. So AMD is doing all the right plays. What would everybody want? Would everybody want AMD to have like some bullshit and come out and hype up their products, or do you want them to keep everything secret and maybe just improve the product so when it gets released, hey, this is pretty good. That's what I want. That's why I'm so surprised why everybody's just like wants AMD to rush out with information. AMD, sit home, sit in your offices, get this fucking worked out. That's exactly what they're doing. And for everyone who wants to give AMD the stuff on, oh, they're spending their time, doing shit through Fortnite and everything like that, and that is the same complaint as PlayStation, Xbox, and Nvidia focusing so much on Fortnite for their ray tracing in their next gen. That stuff has nothing to do about Fortnite as a game. Has nothing to do with Epic as a company, what deals they might have with Epic. It has nothing to do with Nvidia, AMD, Sony, or Microsoft. Or Nintendo, for that matter, if they ever get into the ray tracing in the next one. None of that Fortnite stuff, all that has to do with like the Apple stuff. I think that's like them just bringing that's like little stabs at Apple to just promote Fortnite. Like, of course they could have promoted Minecraft. And in my opinion, for ray tracing, Minecraft is the much more incredible leap in technology than fucking Fortnite. Fortnite looks okay still, but the performance significantly goes down when you have the new graphics card doing that. The 3080 and the 3090 going off of benchmarks and things I've seen. So really in the long run, like Fortnite's they're not messing around with Fortnite. Really not. It's a cheap, easy way to get publicity for this stuff. And then you get people signing on for Fortnite, you get the hype through it, and then because every single one of those companies, AMD, Nvidia, Sony, Microsoft, they're all going to be anti-Apple because they're going to be more on the side of Epic. They want their platforms everywhere. So the Fortnite stuff is less to do with Nvidia and everyone, and it's more to do with specifically anti-Apple, which, fuck you, Tim Cook. You're watching this. Fuck you and Apple. You guys are assholes. And they know it. They've known it for years. So I think that everyone that's like misinterpreting the tweets and what AMD is doing, I think AMD is making calculated plays. Everyone is just saying is like just bad publicity, bad marketing. I don't think so. I think it's very, very, very calculated stuff to undercut Nvidia. And we'll just have to see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that RDNA2 launch is going to be big. I think we'll see a little bit. I'll see a little bit with Gen 3. Gen 4 Ryzen. I'll probably see a little, like another hint. Maybe. But October 27th, 28th, going to be a big fucking day.